Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the Buddy Study Group, and I am joined by my good friend Brent DeGroot from Oneamerica. And Oneamerica's been up to quite a lot lately, and even if you've been up to speed, there are some brand new developments that Brent is here to talk to us about on the underwriting side for Oneamerica. But this is a really good opportunity to be able to pick Brent's brain, just understand what's new in the world of One America, asset care, annuity care. You're talking to one of the experts here, so feel free to drop any of your questions in the chat and I will make sure they get answered live. But for now, Brent, thanks so much for being here, man. Really good to have you, and you can take it away with whatever you'd like to share to start.
Awesome. I appreciate that. Thank you, Jason. I am going to pull something up here, and if you'll give me just a second, let's make sure that I'm pulling up the right one here. That's the one. Share that now. Let's make sure you all see it.
We're in there.
You're in, but you're seeing all the notes. Anyway, it doesn't, whatever. It's not that big of a deal. But thank you. Great to be here with everybody. And thank you for your time and attention today. Yes, as Jason said, there's some excitement happening here at One American Financial as we are getting ready to roll out a flex underwriting program. And that starts actually October 6th. So next week, Monday, I believe that is. And so I just really wanted to go through a little bit of that. However, I will just quickly announce here's your team, if you will. Myself and my internal, Adam Frechette. I think most of you, I know most of you, if not, hopefully, if you haven't met Adam, he's a good guy, and please feel free to reach out to him as well.
Yeah, one thing, Brent, you can go slideshow up at the
Yep.
top for the PowerPoint, and that'll keep it from yeah, slideshow from
Sometimes
current slide.
it'll force me to change it, and then it will be.
Brent, I'm getting you up to speed, my man. From
I tell
current
you what.
slide.
Okay, are you seeing? Okay, no, well, yeah, see, it stays this way. That's the
Oh,
problem.
okay. All right, interesting. Also, depending on who your BGA is, you may have different internals, different contacts. Obviously, Brent is here on our behalf. Just make sure to go to your BGA to find your right contact. All right,
Yeah,
that's all I got.
that is true. And all right, let me get this back here. 1 second here.
I'm sorry, I completely messed you up, I think.
That's all right. I'm gonna actually stop sharing, and then I'm gonna reshare. How
Don't listen to me anymore.
about that? Hey, you had one great fix, so I got to give you all the props. All right, let's do this. I think we're back. Make sure I see
Yes,
you.
sir.
Good. All right. So, as I was saying, October 6th, so next week, Monday, we will launch Flex for asset care. And I'm pretty excited about it because it's really going to be a time saving whole process from app submission to out the door, if you will. And first of all, I have to show you where the states are at. It's basically approved already in all the compact states plus Indiana. So you'll see that there's some gray states. We're working on getting those out as well, but we have to file those separately with the states. So talking about some of the the main pieces of this that I really wanted to get for everybody's understanding here is the fact that obviously it's rolling out next Monday, but there's a whole new processing system that is allowing us to make a lot of these changes. And the biggest piece that I've taken away from underwriting when they're certainly explaining the whole process is the fact that before, when we had a case in, we would put it into a queue, and then whether it be licensing or new business or case management or underwriting, whoever would go to that queue, grab that case out, and nobody else could work on it. It was only in that department's area for a bit. Once they were done, they'd put it back in the queue. Then everybody else could go out and take time and work on the pieces that they need. Well, this biggest change with this system is, yes, it goes into a system or a queue, but every system can access that same case at the same time. So we can really speed up some time just through the fact that everybody can have access to it at one time. So we can get all areas processing that app or the needed pieces in the most expedient manner. So it should be a very much a reduction in time submit to out the door, 30+%. As a matter of fact, what we did with this is we rolled out Flex to our career folks before and on some of our traditional products. We wanted to make sure before we rolled it out to Care Solutions that we had kind of a lot of the kinks worked out. And so they actually saw 40 to 50% time savings, but they've got a little bit of different business mix than we do as well. So, but at least 30+% time savings here with just the new system and the new whole Flex process. So what makes it so, light years ahead of where we were at? Obviously, it's got some reflexive questions in the EAP process. And I'm going to talk about really today what we have certainly been promoting and how to use the EAP versus now the future state or the Flex portion. I will say this. So, of course, I'm going to say, please use the EAP as much as possible. Yes, we still have Flex on paper apps, but you're still going to give up some of those time savings because you're moving from paper to an electronic format. So use EAP as much as possible. We're not pulling out paper apps completely yet, but that there may come a day for that, just so you know. So use the app, but here's the biggest piece that I will kind of point out that I would say is a good recommendation. So before we were always saying, all right, complete part one and let our vendor, Illumifin, do part two with the applicant. And that was really walking through all the medical questions and so on and so forth. Well, I think most of you know, if not all, that Illumifin moved all of their call centers to, I believe it was, well, it's somewhere in an Asian country. I don't remember exactly which one, but that has caused some feedback from the field force that these interviews are taking even longer than they had before. Maybe with some dialect, not understanding people back and forth, maybe with just the ability to actually read through the application and ask those questions, understanding the answers back. So there's been some real friction, I guess, if you will, with some of these apps that I've seen come back through this interview process. So with this time savings that we can get through the Flex app process, I will highly recommend that the agent, advisor, insurance professional who's ever taking that EAP, that they do the part two questions. Now, there's a couple ways they can do that. They can fill out part one, lock the HIPAA form, and email it to the client so that the client can really take it, do all the health questions in the privacy of their own home, have the ability to go find medications and doctors and all that, so they can take their time doing that. Now, the one drawback to that is you lose a little bit of the control over how quickly that app is going to be filled out. Or the agent can still take it with the client in the same setting, even through a screen share that they can do that. So you've got really two ways to do that part two, but largely I'm going to say the more we can promote, or at least a different change here in doing part two versus letting our vendor actually do that, I think will save a lot more time in the long run. And I just think it really will help the overall time passing through the whole system. So big change there. Not only do part one, but do part two as well. Straight through processing, and this might be a little over exaggeration here, but not really. If it is a straight through process, basically the system will look at this and automate all the underwriting. And if there's certain criteria are met, these apps fly through in 10 minutes. Now, it still may take us the rest of that day to get that app out, but that's awfully quick. I mean, a 10-minute application to approval, that's pretty amazing. And I'm going to touch on kind of what the straight through processing, light touch, and full underwriting looks like here in just a little bit. So then we've got light touch, which may be a day, maybe two at the most, and then you've got full underwriting. There we can, still order APSs, things of that nature that can take obviously a little bit longer. But we've got all three of those areas being utilized with the new Flex program. What this really does, the straight through processing, the light touch applications, really allows and frees up the time for those underwriters to dig into some of those full underwriting scenarios. As you know, Oneamerica has always been one to look for ways to approve the case, with our ability to table rate up to table 8 and table 4 still being our preferred rates, with the ability to maybe move to annuity care if they can't necessarily qualify on asset care. So we've always had a very robust system for underwriting, but now we can really take that same robustness and add some more speed to it with the straight through processing. So I'm very excited about that. And so that's why I say here, underwriting can be our most robust underwriting system out there, can be even quicker. The reason I really stated it that way, I do feel because we have the ability to table rate, that in some form or fashion, maybe we don't necessarily think of Oneamerica as a substandard carrier, but it's like, oh, well, hey, I know that they do, some extra underwriting, and we could probably get them through with Oneamerica. So let's try them after we submit here, or once we get that decline. So we haven't said we won't take any declines like that or anything, but I will say with the straight through processing, if you've got a good case and it can fly through in 10 minutes, why think of us second? You should always think of us first. So hopefully that explains kind of some of that information there. I will say this, we do, our underwriting team will order all of the requirements, whether it's an APS, whether it's any blood work that needs to be done. We will be doing all of this for all of our partners out there. So wanted to make sure that you're aware of that. There won't be anything that you would need to be doing to try and coordinate some of those pieces. We'll do all the underwriting requirements.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think that also adds to your story, with these processes for healthy clients, healthier clients, freeing up your underwriting team for full underwriting. I think that's something everybody should pay a lot of attention to because kind of like you characterized it, Brent, you guys do a lot of homework on full underwriting so that you're able to give the benefit of the doubt in situations where you can. So people having more time to dedicate to that is also very, very helpful.
Yeah, thank you, Jason. Appreciate that. That's kind of why we like this new system, and I'm really excited about it coming here next Monday. So I thought the next piece that I would just really kind of show, it's actually from an underwriting presentation that we had, is kind of talking through what would qualify for the straight through processing, qualify more for the light touch, and then certainly the full underwriting aspect. So if we look at the fastest ability, the straight through processing here, right, we're going to see that this can be done in essentially, again, 10 minutes if all these requirements are met and the straight through processing goes through. It's done in 10 minutes. We get it out in a day. But we need those clients to be 59 or under, right? So 60 and above, we're always going to have a telephone interview. So that's going to have to be more in the light touch realm, if you will. But we're going to have the maximum there of 250,000 in total amount to underwrite. And I want to give you some examples of that because I think that when you may look at that and say, oh, well, that's some smaller cases. And I'm going to give you some examples around that here in just a second. Client must meet all the guidelines for health and build and that sort of thing. But again, we've got a pretty robust chart there as well. But those 59 and under clean applications why not submit them to Oneamerica and get them through and out in a day? I mean, that's a quick turnaround process. So that's the fastest. That's just straight through, if you will. Fast, not quite as fast as the fastest, would be the light touch, right? And these would really more incorporate some of those individuals that would be 60 plus because they're going to have that senior assessment telephone interview. So here's where it's a little bit different and why I still encourage any applicant or advisor to be doing part two of the application. Yes, they'll fill out those medical questions, but if they are 60 and above and they still need that senior assessment, that will still be done by our vendor, but those are 15, 20 minutes at the most. So I will just kind of quickly mention that, and we're just really trying to move maybe away from more of the vendor need there, but those senior assessments will still be done there. But you can see here for the light touch underwriting, all the way up to age 80 here that you can see we'll go the maximum of 500,000. These will get through in 1 to 2 business days because it is much more lighter touch through these application process. Must meet the build. They're going to have that telephone interview, as I said, and we will order any of those necessary requirements if they are needed. We're going to be doing that right up front because we know kind of looking at the app and so forth what may need to be ordered. So we do those right away to really speed up the time as well. Now, the full underwriting aspect, and I know you can read some of this, but again, that will go the 35 to age 80 full age range there. We've got the maximum of $1 million. So anything of 500,001. Oh, I see that 500,000. We missed the zero there. But $500,001 up to $1 million would be in this full underwriting spectrum. And that's again where we're going to see the telephone interview for the senior assessment. If they're 70 plus, we're going to need an APS as well. We'll do all those requirements, but you can see kind of how the applications can flow in which bucket they will flow through. So really excited about this because it does free up the underwriters' times to focus more on those maybe more difficult cases. So certainly happy for that. But I wanted to give you just some quick ideas on straight through processing cases. So here's a couple. We've got two 50-year-olds, younger, obviously individuals. We've got an annual pay, so paid age 95, if you will. But you can see their face amount here is 240,000. Well, what's interesting in our quote output, you're going to see, and I believe this is the second to the last page that you'll find this, but you're going to find the amount to underwrite is always there available for you. So when you're sending those quotes out, you'll kind of know, hey, this one could go through straight through processing. We could possibly get this tomorrow and be ready to go. So we'll always point out the amount to underwrite here on this particular page. And like I said, I believe it's the second to last page you're going to find this information. So one example here. How about a second example? Well, what about a annuity funded whole life? So our qualified example. Well, that's got to be more expensive. There's no way we can keep that under 250,000. Well, here again, here's 246,000 that we're keeping that under. Plus, they're only 59, so this could still flow through that straight through processing. So pretty great way to use those qualified funds and still get them through that straight through processing. The last one here is just more of a single pay. We had a 253-year-olds. Yes, it's a fairly hefty premium here that I will show, but again, what we're looking is the total amount to underwrite. So even though their death benefit is higher, their total premium is higher, still the full amount to underwrite is 245, so it stays under that threshold of the 250. So all of those three cases could go through the straight through processing in and out in 10 minutes. Any questions on that before I move on to another topic that I wanted to just discuss with everybody?
Is there any benefit to us knowing kind of that formula around amount to underwrite, or is it just quote it and take a look?
Well, I would say quote it and take a look is probably the easiest way. We do have the calculation in our guide, and I don't even know it off the top of my head. So I would have to go refresh the pull up the guide and just look to refresh my memory on how to calculate that amount to underwrite. But it's very simple. Once you run in the quote, you've got it there on that page that it shows exactly what that is.
Yeah, sure. Simple enough. I'd stick to that too.
Yep, good question. Any others? Any excitement around this? Look, I'm excited. I Anytime we get cases through the process faster, I think is always a good thing. And gosh, if we can do it in 10 minutes for those clean cases, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, well, we got some people giving some thumbs up. I would say for those of you who have ever complained about underwriting being gummed up, you got to be excited for something like this at any carrier at any level of insurance, right? On the individual side, we're certainly seeing a lot of innovations with underwriting, and I like that this frees up again every sort of um, chain in the underwriting system. I think that definitely helps. Giving people more time to work on the cases that require the homework means not just that they have more time in general, but they can put more effort than they already do, which is a lot at One America, into those cases, right? So I love it.
Yeah, thank you, Jason. Appreciate the thumbs up from people that gave us that as well. So that's great. So the last thing that I really wanted to kind of talk through here is an opportunity that is really low hanging fruit. And I know we've got a lot of different representation here on the call today. Some are BGAs that are, working with downlines, some are, producers, and everywhere in between, right? So I'm trying to come at this just look at a number of different ways. Because some of those BGAs maybe focus on Medicare, maybe more so than long-term care, or even some of the producers here may do some Medicare and the AEP season. So I really wanted to focus on something which we're calling base annuity exchange, and it's really utilizing the Pension Protection Act. And you know, I dare to guess that most of you have heard of the Pension Protection Act. Many of you may know exactly how it works. Some of you may have no idea how it works. But really, what Pension Protection Act did was doing a lot of pension reform. It's been in a law now for over 15 years. But Section 844 of the Pension Protection Act allowed for exchanging of non qualified annuities for an annuity that would be qualified or classified as a PPA annuity. Well, all of the annuities that we have here at Oneamerica are PPA annuities. Now, why am I talking about annuities? Well, there's an aspect of long-term care planning that can involve annuities as well. And we've got a suite of solutions there that can work. But here is some really low-hanging fruit that every producer can really take advantage of, and no matter where you really focus your business on. And it's just doing these simple base annuity exchanging. So a 1035 exchange just says, hey, really, all you need to do is take a new application to move the funds in this non-qualified annuity that somebody has in their portfolio and move it to a Pension Protection Act annuity. Why would they do that? Well, they now get all the tax-free benefits if they use that money for long-term care. So what am I saying here? Well, basically, to leave that annuity where it sits today, it is going to be taxed on every distribution that comes out of that annuity. So each distribution that customer takes, they're going to be taxed, and that could be federal, state. It could affect their IRMA, their Medicare premiums, obviously, provisional income. There's lots of ways that these can be taxed. But doing a simple 1035 exchange into a PPA eligible annuity will allow that consumer then to take all of the money out of that annuity now in a PPA annuity, all tax free, if they use it for long-term care. So I look at this two ways. Really, it's a great tax play. What client wants to pay more taxes? I'll take my dad for just for a minute here and use him as an example. I don't know how many times I've heard him say, "I pay enough taxes. I ain't giving him any more taxes." If he can help it, he'll avoid taxes in any way possible. And I know Karen, you know him very very well. So I see her shaking her head there. So look, I think many Americans, look, all of us on this call, none of us want to pay more taxes, right? So if there's a way to mitigate taxes through a strategy or a very simple application process, why wouldn't you help a client do that? So that is one thing. But then what the other benefit is here is truly what this study group is all about, and it's long-term care planning. So not only can you save a client or mitigate a tax situation, but you can also provide them coverage, and very simply at that. So what I really wanted to focus on, we can do this base annuity exchange with two of our solutions, our original annuity care and then our indexed annuity care. Now, I personally like the index solution, but it comes with a little extra bells and whistles, if you will. So if you just want a straight, simple annuity, fixed annuity to 1035 exchange into, annuity care is perfect for that. So we've got the two solutions that we can use. And really what I want to focus on here is, here's how the concept works, if you will. Yes, it's in their portfolio. We're just going to remove or use a portion of their portfolio and put it into a vessel that would allow them for some long-term care coverage. Well, the great thing is moving it into a PPA annuity will allow for that leverage to come from the tax mitigation. So it's not, and I'm sure you've all seen annuities that have extra leverage, and that's really what we're calling this now. So beyond the PPA leverage, where they're getting those monies tax free, you can add, 2 or 3 or 4 times extra leverage, but that comes with extra underwriting, and not everybody wants to do that. So this is a very simple process to utilize the leverage for the tax-free nature of these dollars. And that's both past growth and future growth. So these will continue to grow. Just because you 1035 exchange them into another annuity, these still are afforded interest rates and will grow that money as well. So what's great about this, and that I like to really talk about, once a client understands that you're helping them mitigate a tax situation, and they see, look, I've got X amount of dollars in this non-qualified annuity. Of course, I want to put it over there so I can shed some taxes possibly. And oh, by the way, I'm going to get some long-term care. That's great. Once they realize that they can shed those taxes in any way possible, by the more they use these funds, of course they'd like to add their spouse. And so we've got a provision here called the eligible person provision, which now they can add their spouse. Now it must be their spouse, whatever the state qualifies as their spouse. It must be a spouse that would be added to this. But we can add them, and now they both can use the money out of that PPA annuity, and both would get it tax-free for any long-term care services. Yes, the spouse would need to qualify as well, but here's the best part about this. This is very, very simple underwriting. We have 4 knockout questions. Yes, what you're seeing here is 5, but what you will find is that we're not using that last question for underwriting purposes. Again, I'm going to encourage you to use the e-app here, but basically we're going to ask these 4 questions, and you can give these even up front to the client. That way you can know, look, I'm not going to waste anybody's time here. If you can't answer no to these 4 questions, then this isn't an opportunity for you. But most people, if they're not receiving care today, can easily pass these 4 questions. I won't read them completely to you here, but they're very simple. Number 1, are they using any assisted device? Wheelchair, walker, quad cane, oxygen, things of that nature, right? If they say no, we can move on. Do they currently need any help with their ADLs, activities of daily living? Okay, no, let's move on. Do they have any of the big conditions? multiple sclerosis, Alzheimer's, dementias, Lou Gehrig's disease, things of that, Parkinson's. So the biggies, right? If they can answer no to that question, we move on to the fourth knockout. Do they have AIDS or AIDS related disorders? And that's it. Like I said, if they're not receiving care today, most clients can answer all of those no. That's the only underwriting that we needed. Now, to be a PPA annuity, you must have some form of underwriting. So that's where these underwriting questions come from. But here's the best part. What we have done with this through our e-app, answer no to all four of those questions, they're going to be instantly approved. There's no other underwriting that's being done. When we're adding extra leverage, as I was talking about earlier, 2, 3, 4 times, whatever, that comes with extra underwriting. It actually comes with this fifth underwriting question that you'll see here on the screen. But we do a script check and an MIB check behind the scenes. So there's some things that could still really trip them up. Not to mention that they would have a senior assessment, that cognitive phone call as well. But here with these base annuity exchanges, because they're so simple, and you've got the four simple knockout questions, this is very easy to do with any new client or just looking at your current book of clients to say, hey, who are some examples here that I know probably have a non-qualified annuity in their portfolio and that I could really help them mitigate taxes. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to skip up to something here that we've got a client profile sheet for this. And it basically gives them exactly who to look for. Look for clients 75 to 87. Now, how many times are you looking to do long-term care planning with somebody that's 75 to 87? I would dare to say almost never. But now we've got a way for some of those clients that are in those age brackets. Maybe they forgot to plan. Maybe they already have a long-term care plan, but still would love the tax mitigation strategy by moving over a non-qualified annuity. So we're giving them exactly who to look for in their portfolio. And I say this, so whether you're focusing on annuities, whether you're focusing on long-term care, whether you're focusing on Medicare, there's always opportunities to talk to your clientele and ask them. I've been working with my clients lately on a great tax mitigation strategy. Do you have any annuities in your portfolio? That opens the door. That they're either going to say yes or no, right? No, well, then you move on. If they say yes, well, would you mind if we review those? Very simple questions to ask. And obviously, taxes are something that nobody wants to pay more of. So this is a great idea. It's low-hanging fruit. It is a great way to save your clients tax money and provide long-term care coverage at that. So with that, I'm going to kind of open it up for more questions if I can.
Yeah, anybody have any questions for Brent right now? I didn't see anything in the chat, but feel free to unmute and ask any questions that you have. I think the PPA discussion is something you've heard me bang the drum about, a lot of people bang the drum about, and Oneamerica has kind of been dedicated to the PPA strategy for a very, very long time.
Yeah, and not to mention, I briefly mentioned it, I think, early on, but we still have those, extra leverage, if you want, the 2, 3, 4 times leverage options as well. But this is just a very simple way to do it. As a matter of fact, we've seen our overall business mix. So asset care, our life chassis, has always been, our leader, if you will. So in the last 18 months, it's gone from about 75%, 25% on the annuity side to now 60-40. So it's still asset care, 60%. But I mean, the annuity side, because of this really simple base annuity exchange, has really grown a lot of business for us on the annuity side. So just take notice of that. I would say it's a very easy strategy to add to whatever you're doing today and pick up some really nice premiums on these exchange cases.
So if there are no questions on this specifically, Brent, it would be great to hear with the time we have left what you're kind of seeing since the release of Asset Care 2024. I know
Yeah.
you all made a lot of really important changes, not just in product itself, but how it functions on the back end. And I know from a claim standpoint, obviously this is applying to the new product generation, so you probably don't have much to share to that end. But as far as the new product structure, what are you kind of seeing? What kind of feedback are you getting from the field on that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So thank you for asking that and give me some time here. One of the things that One America, I think, has long been really focused around is creating the best experience for a client at claim time. And largely it's the families, right? It's not the person who's needing care. They're not going to be the ones that are on the phone and that sort of thing. It's the families around that person that needs care. So the claims concierge program we've had, well, I mean, a lot longer than I've been here, which is now 6.5 years. But so we've had this for a long period of time, and the claims concierge program is really there to support those families, even pre-claim, to really kind of help them understand what's going to be needed at claim time, to get them prepared and make sure that they've got the pieces in play. But then once that claim happens, to really be that dedicated person for the entire length of that claim. And so they're going to have one person to talk to. They are all nurses in Indianapolis, so we've not shipped them off, to another country or anything of that nature. So no language barriers. All again, very. We get a lot of great feedback around our claims concierge program, but there were some features, obviously, with the new Asset Care 24 that we have built in as well. And while today there's still only 4 Asset Care 2024 plans, we're looking to expand to all of our plans. So let me talk about some of those things as far as it relates to claims. Now, maybe not adding the cash benefit like we did to Asset Care 2024, but adding some of the services like our caregiver consultant, which is really the coach to help those unlicensed caregivers. Adding that cash benefit, we recognize that when a claim first starts, that it's a very tumultuous time, very difficult time for that family while they're trying to, gosh, they're seeing, the decline in their loved one, but yet they want to be there to help, but they also have to figure out how we're going to put this whole plan of care in place. So it's a very difficult time when those claims first arise. So we understand that many times it's the closest female that will step up and maybe say, hey, I'll take some time off work. I'll just add to my already busy plate and do some unlicensed caregiving because, look, the females, not being sexist here, it's just the way it is. You guys are much more caring than any of us males have ever been. It's in your DNA, right? So they want to care for that loved one who needs that care. So they'll step up and do that. Well, before our plans didn't reimburse for unlicensed caregiving. So adding this cash benefit really allowed them to at least get some money for providing some of that care. And really what that did is allows that family now to take some extra time to really do their due diligence. Hey, what facilities are around that we could send mom or dad to? Or who do we really trust to come into the house, mom and dad's house? We can't just hire anybody. We want to interview a number of folks. So it buys them the time to put that full plan of care in place with that cash benefit, but still pay somebody for providing those services. So that's one of the aspects that we really enhanced. The caregiver consultant, though, comes in play for those unlicensed caregivers, because remember, they're more suited in other forms of society. They specialize in whatever, that could be, but it's not caregiving necessarily first and foremost. So what the caregiver consultant has done, and we've partnered with Amada Senior Care, they're all over the US, they will provide the expertise for that unlicensed caregiver to help them through those situations. It's paid for by us here at Oneamerica, so it's not out of the client's policy. It affords them the ability to talk to that Amada or that care concierge from Amada up to once per month, and that can be either virtual or in person, and really give them some help with some of the things that they're just not versed in. Hey, how can I set up the room that it's more beneficial for everybody involved that's now here, or for that person that needs care? How can I transport this person without hurting them or myself? How can I deflect somebody who's very deep in some anger or external behavior that they've never shown before? How can I deflect them to get them back to being more calm in nature and that sort of thing? So that caregiver consultant is really one of those pieces that are really going to help those family, any of those unlicensed caregivers around that individual as well. So those are a couple pieces that we're really trying to help the families. But as I said, I think some of these services will soon bleed out into not only the Asset Care 24 plan series, but some of the other plan series that we've already got in place.
Awesome. Love that. Renee asked, did I miss when the launch will be for the Asset Care product in South Carolina? Any word on
Yeah,
that?
and that's a great question. Right now, it's looking like it's going to be first quarter. I don't know the exact date for that. We don't have that. I believe we've got South Carolina approved. It's just now a matter of getting a couple of these others, and then we can put them all in a package and roll it out. So it should be first quarter.
Perfect. Anybody else have any questions for Brent while we have him here? Well, you are a master of timing, my friend. I said plan for about 45 minutes and we sit right on the 45. Is there anything else that you would like to leave everybody with before we wrap it up here?
Um, I will just say this once again, because we've always had a more robust underwriting program. Don't forget to send us your clean cases as well. And now, if they can get through in 10 minutes, or like I said, under a day, that's a great thing. So look to us not only for the more difficult cases, but those clean ones as well.
Yep, I totally agree. I think there are many clients out there, if you are listening, that prefer a quick and simple underwriting process above many other things. So use that in your decision making for clients and your guidance to clients. If it's something that's really important to them, One America is now one if you've got the client in the right health and with the right illustration to keep in mind. Well, Brent, I really appreciate the time and all of the information. There's a lot new and a lot of good sales ideas coming out of One America right now, and appreciate everything you do. Remember to find your BGA's internal contact if you need anything as far as illustrations, have any questions on the process, etc. But I think that'll do it for all of us here today. So.
Awesome.
Um, Thank you all so much for being here. Again, we're here for any questions you have. Appreciate you very much, and we'll talk to you this time next week. Have a good one, everybody.
Thanks all.